Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode. I've got some facts for the Star Trek Next Generation episode, The Battle, which was first shown in 1987. Now in this episode, the Enterprise has been called to the Zendi Sabu system. They've got a meeting with the Ferengis, because the Ferengis have got something to show them. Okay, so now the first fact for this episode that I've dug up, that I think you'll find quite interesting. One of the Ferengis in the background is actually played by producer Rick Berman. This was his break in the industry. He didn't actually start out as a producer. He was a part-time actor in the background playing one of the Ferengis. But Gene Roddenberry liked him so much that he took him under his wing and taught him more and more over the years, until slowly Rick Berman would take over Star Trek. On to the next fact. Now, the episode The Battle showcases the flirting that would go on between Captain Picard and Deanna Troi. Because in this episode, if you notice, there's a scene where they're actually holding hands, and later on during the episode, Picard is brushing her hair while they're talking. You know the episode. You know the scene. It's when he's lamenting, but he'd like to have her hair like hers, and that he'd like to burrow his nose into the bun that's on top of her hair. That sort of weird-looking horn bun that she has coming out the top of her head. Yeah. Well, there's lots of flirting going on between Picard and Troi during the first season. Okay, the next fact. The Picard manoeuvre, which is talked about during this episode. The manoeuvre is when a starship goes at high warp, suddenly stopping next to the enemy. So it looks like there's actually two ships. During the episode, Data proposes that he creates the Data manoeuvre, whereby he runs up to an opponent and stops. But Picard tells him that there's actually no need to ever do this manoeuvre, practically in real life. Now, that scene was filmed, but it wasn't used in the end. But it would have been interesting if there was such a thing as the Data manoeuvre. In the scene where Captain Picard threatens to attack Damon Bock with his alligator, we still don't actually see the creature. This is the second time it's spoken about, but we still don't see it, as a live alligator was too dangerous to have on set. But once again, it was highly insinuated that Captain Picard does indeed have a pet alligator, and that he keeps it in his room. Probably in his, not in his ready room, in his quarters. This episode was filmed 10 minutes short. It was actually filmed, they had 35 minutes of material by the time they'd finished shooting the script and the episode, all done by mistake, of course. So they padded out the extra 10 minutes that they needed for the 45-minute show by having slowdown on 5 minutes of the footage, which would then stretch out the time to fit it into 45 minutes. So if you're wondering why a bunch of the space scenes and some of the scenes without much talking look so slowed down, it's because they added the slow motion to fill up some of the time for the episode. Now, during the fist fight with Damon Bock, Riker rips off Damon Bock's shirt. Now, we all know that, we've all seen that, but the original plan was that Riker would rip apart Damon Bock's shirt, revealing a giant ear on his chest, which is another hidden piece of history and sort of the makeup of how the Ferengis are, that he'd be revealing to everyone that Ferengis also have a giant ear on their chest, but unfortunately the makeup cost for that was outside of the realms of the budget of the episode. So when Riker pulls apart Damon Bock's shirt during this episode, there is no giant ear on his chest. It's just a normal looking chest. Now, in the right at the end of the episode, where Captain Picard wearily enters the bridge, and his clothes are all ragged and ripped apart after the battle he's had. There's several rips in his uniform, as you know, but one camera angle quickly shows he actually has a massive rip across his bottom on his trousers, on his pants, as the Americans would say, and revealing most of his nude bottom. What they did was they filmed most of the scene from straight ahead so that you wouldn't see this, but there's a quick turn whereby if you look carefully, you can see that his bottom is exposed. His bum is mostly out for that scene. Now, one of the characters in this episode, once again, Damon Bock, the original actor who was asked to play the role of Damon Bock was actually Rick Moranis, because the people who were casting the episode correctly realised that Rick Moranis actually does look like a human Ferengi, and that he would have been perfect to play the role of Damon Bock, but unfortunately they just couldn't afford the $500,000 it would have cost for Rick Moranis to appear for a couple of days' worth of shooting. Now, during the episode where Captain Picard first gets the view screen image of Damon Bock after waiting for a while, after being fobbed off, you can hear in the background Gene Roddenberry is humming a tune in the background. It wasn't cut out very well because, unfortunately, it was humming at the same time as the characters were talking, so they couldn't really edit it out. So if you listen closely, you can hear Gene Roddenberry humming, and it sounds like he's humming something like "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." Maybe it really sounds like a children's song, but it's nice to hear, and it's nice to know that that part of Gene Roddenberry lives on. Now, Marina Sirtis's stunt double actually plays Deanna Troi for this whole episode, actress Phyllis Jarr. Sirtis was bruised after an altercation that she'd had on a night out. There's no more information about that I can find, unfortunately. But Phyllis Jarr, her stunt double, who looks quite a lot like Marina Sirtis, picked up the mantle and played Deanna Troi for the entire episode. And there was actually 3 whole episodes during the 178 episodes of Star Trek Next Generation. There was 3 times when Phyllis Jarr would play Deanna Troi for the entire episode, and this is the first one. So it's good that Phyllis Jarr had that time on screen, and that obviously she had a better payday for playing the full role of Deanna Troi. Not once, but 3 times. So good for Phyllis Jarr. Okay, thanks for listening to my facts about Star Trek Next Generation, The Battle. Is it one of the highlights of Series 1? No, not really. It's quite a memorable episode for having the Stargazer in and for explaining some of Captain Picard's history. But as an episode, I don't think it's particularly good. There's loads of better episodes during Series 1. But it's good to have the Ferengis back in their second appearance. Okay, thanks. Thanks for watching my very good video. Please subscribe if you want to, otherwise don't. And come back next time. Hopefully I'll dig up some new facts for the next episode of Star Trek Next Generation for next time. Okay, thanks very much. Bye, guys.